In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. I'm your host, Emanuel Rose. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with Prasanna Dhungel, who's the managing partner at GrowByData. Prasanna's expertise in marketing intelligence has made him a go-to resource for big brands and agencies, and his company provides crucial insights that unlock competitive advantages in the digital landscape. With a background spanning search, e-commerce, digital health, Prasanna brings a wealth of knowledge in analytics, marketing, and client success. He's also board member at Clinic One, just demonstrating his commitment to preventative health care. Ready for an enlightening conversation on marketing intelligence. And welcome to the show, Prasanna.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. This is a very fascinating topic, and I look forward to talking further about this.
Oh, well, that's great. I'm very grateful for your time. And I'm interested just to see what first got you into the AI space and how you ended up here with GrowByData.
Sure. So we started to GrowByData about 11 years ago to really bring big data to a lot of SMEs in the mid 2014 era. And my background is I've spent about 20 plus years just using data, helping organizations, and specifically how we today, we as GrowByData, we provide marketing intelligence to some of the largest brands and agencies. And we are GrowByData and using data to power AI. And ultimately, I like to say we use AI for three things. One, to help brands and brand leaders grow revenue. Two, to help you reduce cost. And number three, to defend your brand, be compliant, and so on. So it's these three key pillars that we are using data and AI for.
Well, you were well positioned, I would imagine, since your company's 11 years old, to been using some form of AI and sophisticated machine learning over that entire time. Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. So there's a few attributes required to do AI well. One is you need high quality, good data.
Sure.
The old topic, junk in, junk out. And so if you power your AI with improper or wrong data, then the AI will only give you wrong information. So as a firm, we have really spent a lot of time in terms of how do you collect data that you need from many different sources. And today, we've moved from a single source to multi-source. Like, for example, we talk about search. So search has evolved, as you know, from Google to Bing to Perplexity to searching on YouTube to TikTok and so on.
Yep.
And so we as consumers are exposed to so much across different channels. And so what we have done as a company is we have really worked on getting information from all these sources, making sure that it's cleansed and curated to put it into the models. So for a long time, we perfected this art of collecting and curating data. And now what's amazing is clients have problems around who is my competition? How is Google changing? What should be the new price I should be selling it at? What should be the new market segment I should enter? So to answer all these very important questions for marketing leaders, you have to use this data platform and you have to use AI to be able to answer it faster and better.
Sure. And then how do you get the data into your dashboards or into this visualization?
Sure. So we built technology over the last decade and we also use best practices from other platforms. So we can do it all. And increasingly, I like to say that we've become an integrator. We
Sure.
focus on doing certain things well, and the world's best have really perfected the art. So what do? We do is we plug into different platforms, we access technology that others have built, and we build it, we put it into our model. Or rather, we collect the right kind of data using our own technology as well as others, and then we curate the data, and then we use others' technology to run some models. What's important is, I think that's an easier problem these days.
Yeah.
The hard problem is really understanding what are important questions to answer, and really being able to use your experience and judgment to get the right kind of insights from the models. But that's my thought, and I'm just curious, Emmanuel. You've been at this. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think I agree. It's way easier to connect things by API or by connectors now than we've ever had, which is really amazing. So, you can dump anything into a CSV and have access to it now, essentially, right?
Right.
And as long as you are asking the right questions, and so I'd be interested to know what some of the questions are the right ones from your perspective for a business.
Yeah. So let's take the example of getting leads, the classic problem in marketing,
Yep.
right? So you've evolved from, hey, let me get a CRM, HubSpot, Salesforce, to email automation, to getting Zoom info or something else, to getting intent data and so on.
Yep.
So you could get really bogged down in the details, which is important, but the right age old question is, can you give me the right lead for my ICP?
Right.
And number two, can you do it quicker? Give me more leads. And
Yep.
number three, can you do it cheaper? So
Right.
the age old problem of give me qualified leads still exists, but with AI, a lot of the leaders understand that they can get it faster and cheaper. And what they're also being exposed to are service providers who can bring it all together and help the leaders get away from the details. So the service providers are saying, using all these different best of class technology, I can give you high quality leads for cheaper, faster, which actually comes back to the question number one, which is give me high quality leads.
Right.
So I mean that's a classic example, of
Yep.
one which is the questions are still the same, I feel, but leaders are being exposed to new ways of getting answers for cheaper, and they're aware that they can do it much quicker. And for those that want to really gain their competitive edge, they're interested in
Yeah.
exploring.
I'm interested on your perspective on adoption rates, because the research I'm doing right now is showing what I consider to be still kind of low adoption rates in terms of integrating AI tools, not only into business but into workflows as professionals. And my generation of people who are in that kind of late 40s to early 60s, the Gen X, they have the lowest adoption of AI tools, and everybody else is still. It's only like 40% have tried to integrate AI tools, and business wise is much lower than that. So what do you have any sense about why that would be, and kind of where we're at in this bubble and hype versus integrating it in as a permanent part of our tech stack?
That's a very thoughtful question, and I'll try to answer it.
Okay.
So there could be a few things here, Emmanuel. One is, I have found that AI is being used by the early adopters.
Yep.
In the technology adoption cycle, I
Yep.
would say it's the early adopters that are eager, and the why is, especially, they want to be on the edge,
Yep.
right? And they want to be on the edge, and they're willing to really try this to be on the edge versus competition. Now, if you stay on this thread, uh, who are the early adopters is the second question, and what percentage of the folks that are between 40 and 60 are early adopters? Could be a
Right.
natural question.
Yeah.
And my view is I've seen folks that are in the 40 to 60 age group that are really leading organizations that are leading their pack
Yeah.
are early adopters. So not everyone has adopted this. And the why could be you could be in your own inertia. You're complacent with the ways the world is, and maybe you have tailwind from other parts of the business, which might actually go away in a bit, right? And so I found the leaders, that are in this age group that really want to be on the edge because they have the hunger or they actually are facing a lot of headwinds. And so they
Yeah.
either need to use it or die. It's 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 that those kinds of people are using it. But to your point, a lot of people are not using it, and the why could be, privacy. And there's a lot of noise around privacy.
Sure.
It's a new way of doing your day to day. You might be using a BI platform, and that's how you do your job. And so using AI into your workflow is different. And so all of us need time to change our behavior, right? Which is hard. That's one. The
Yeah.
second class where I think adoption is high is those that are in college or in their early careers. They are eager to try something new. They're already sometimes exposed to this in college, or
Yeah.
even some of the younger folks in the companies are like, hey, let's try, or they're being asked to do this. So the adoption is, I think, higher in some of those that are younger. But that said, I do think the huge opportunity exists for those that are like mid professionals and seniors that really want to be on the edge. And I do not think so. This was a recent conversation we're having. I mean, the opportunity to be a leader in this, the opportunity window is pretty small. It's going to be mainstream in the next year or two.
Yeah.
And so those that really adopt, experiment, fail, struggle are going to win,
Yeah.
and versus falling behind.
Yeah, what I just saw, the innovations that have happened in the last 2 years, we've had an equal number of innovations in the last 3 months in the AI space, and so that velocity is inconceivable to my brain, and it's hard to project into the future, with that speed of innovation, right? And so, how do you internally with your team stay on top of this type of innovation and continue to bake in as much as you can with that speed?
Yeah, what we always have to do is there's two things you have to do as a business. One is you have to keep the lights on, and
Right.
so that means keeping your clients happy, making sure your product works, and there's that one swim lane which
Yeah.
we always have to be doing. The second is uh, really looking out and experimenting, and I think that's a second swim lane. And the way we do that is really reading, learning, being out there, trying, experimenting, letting ourselves fail as needed so
Right.
that we can learn. And I would say it's not really failing, it's learning. And through the learning, we are incorporating. And so here's something that we were recently discussing, which is we're working on our core product, and then we have another swim lane to experiment. And we said, here's the way we will inject AI into our product, into our processes,
Nice.
and then we will even expose this to the early adopter customers.
Right.
Because like when you show this to everyone, many may be uncomfortable, but you have to pick the early adopter customers because they understand that it's going to be messy and it may not be perfect, but they're eager.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the way we've tried to do this, which is have these. And the third is also talk to companies who come to us saying, here's how we're using AI, and it might help us break our bubble and realize that a certain um, internal capability can be better done, by someone else, or we could use them to complement what we're doing. So it's also kind of breaking the bubble and being open to exposing ourselves.
Yeah, which I think that's really powerful and very humble as a company to have that ethic, right? Where you're saying, hey, we're doing as much as we can with our team, and there's other people who are doing great stuff, and we can learn from them as well and integrate it. So
Right.
love that philosophy. Um, I'm curious what kind of tools that you're using in your day-to-day work as a business leader of a tech company that are AI
Sure.
tools. Yeah.
Yeah. So use ChatGPT, the premium version of it.
Yeah.
Use Gemini. Use
Yeah.
Perplexity. Those three I use. And in besides that, other colleagues of mine use the same. They are also experimenting with others like Anthropic. Um, I'm forgetting another one, but there's another one there.
Yep.
And in terms of how I use it, earlier I would just be asking questions. Um, it's pretty simple type of questions, but recently I've begun to even load data into,
Yeah.
say, ChatGPT, and then ask more advanced questions. And what's interesting to me, and this is worth worth pointing out, is earlier what a BI tool did. I can now ask a question and ChatGPT will give me the answer. So, like, I'll give you an A/B testing scenario,
Sure.
which is scenario A is I go into our BI tool and I select 5 drop downs, and filters, and I get the answer, because I have to use the right filters to get the answer I want. Whereas the other possibility now is, I know if I know the question to ask and I write the right prompt and I
Yep.
give the right data, it actually answers the question to me.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's also evolving from summarizing to now even recommending.
Right.
And you're beginning to already see these summary capabilities in a lot of BI platforms, saying, you click and it says, oh, here's what I saw. Right. So
Interesting.
it's moving from summary to even here's what you should be doing. So that's kind of how I personally am beginning to test and experiment.
Interesting. Yeah. So that there's an element of a recommendation engine that's happening if you can put in the correct amount of information and ask the right question. Is what you're saying.
Right, right. So, and what you want to do is, you want to use it to get a summary,
Yep.
or it could be a question. It gives you an answer. The second is a more advanced question. What should I be doing?
Right.
How should I be increasing my lead flow? How should I be increasing my CTR?
Yeah.
Like, for example, you just load source data and be like, how should I be increasing my CTR? And if it has the right kind of data set fit in, it tells you.
Yeah.
And it tells you baseline, but you have to keep asking the deeper questions.
Yeah.
It
So
can prompt
that's
you.
interesting. Yeah. Because I would say we're using it in the same way in the agency where I'm uploading creative content and I'm saying, here's the results that we're getting from these email campaigns. Please analyze the headlines and give me some options to get better open rates. Uh,
Correct.
Here are the call to actions. Please give me call to actions that are using best practices January 2025 to increase my click through rates, right?
Correct.
And so it becomes, or we have this problem where I have too much content. I don't know what to do anymore. I have so many podcasts and guesting and hosting, and I'm like, I don't know. So I told my team, let's load that problem in to Claude and see what Claude has to say about it, because I don't have any idea what to do.
Correct.
Or TikTok, right? TikTok's going away in the United States. A very important mechanism to get to Gen Z. So I'm like, well, let's do some research about, A, when's it going to be gone? B, how do we build the same kind of campaigns on Snapchat? And then C, what are some of the other best practices currently to get to Gen Z? And so
Right.
we'll run a whole series on that based on those questions, and iterate from there.
Right. Isn't that amazing? Right. If you think you're asking, and it's like you're asking Alexa and it's responding to you. What's the
Yep.
weather? Here's the weather. And
Right.
you're asking Google and it's responding. Likewise, you're actually asking these questions. Sometimes you don't know the answer.
Yeah.
You want to call up someone and get an expert to give you an opinion.
Yep.
You're doing the same. So it's phenomenal. Like, I'll give you another example. We were looking at a brand sentiment And so how is a brand being talked about on Reddit
Right. Yep.
or on reviews, and what are consumers saying about product quality, what are they saying about pricing, returns policy, and so on. And then
Yep.
when you have a massive amount of data set you're feeding the model, then you could get a lot of wrong answers. And that's where you have to really curate it and make sure you send the right data. But then it allows you to summarize what could take you hours and dozens and hundreds of hours. And I
Absolutely.
come back, it's like you have to use whatever today, it takes you a lot of time, takes you a lot of human time, but it's boring sometimes
Yep.
and repetitive. Or sometimes, it's something you cannot answer and you need external opinion. These are great use cases
Yep.
because if the model is right, it has a lot of data, unbiased, and it can do it faster if you use the instrument right.
Yeah, I agree. And then the other two things that we're doing is custom GPTs and then notebook LLM, and so that we're trying to build as much history for each client, each campaign as possible in order to get the best possible outcome. Where are you at with those two tools?
So we have begun to experiment with those. And specifically, how do you use these techniques to create custom models by category? For example, you could have a very generic response, but if you're running a campaign for apparel, for example,
Yeah.
can you train a model with just apparel data?
Right.
So it's a lot of hyper customized models
Yeah.
that are experts in that. That's the direction that we're evolving towards,
Yeah.
because you have to go away from being, of course, step one is being broad, but then over time you just need to create these agents, if you may, which are experts in certain functional areas or certain categories.
Yep. Yep. And well, I think the beauty of it is that you have this ability to capture the history, but then also to a slight amount of forecasting into the marketplace to see what competition's doing or what the thought leaders are saying and talking about it. And so you have access to the most amount of information you could have at any size company.
Correct. Now, I think where you have to also be a little careful is sometimes it's again the junk in, junk out principle.
Sure.
If you ask any person, he or she is going to have an opinion, but it may not be the right opinion,
Yep.
right? So you have to be careful to ensure that your data set is pertinent, that's why I go back to, like, if you're training a model, the more you can make it, again, statistically significant is important, but
Yep.
statistically significant in your geography or
Right.
in your category with the right age and gender in sample size, so that it's hyper customized for your industry. I think that's also important versus just being all over the place, which is also sometimes what I see some of the response. Like sometimes some of the response, if it's very generic, or rather, a general question gets a generic response, and the more customized you become, the better it becomes.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's why prompt writing is getting easier, but it's still very important to
Correct.
drill down in the specificity and make references to some sources that you want to make sure that you reference in the answers.
Right.
Well, I think we could probably have this conversation all day, and I really appreciate your time and making time to come and have the conversation with me. Thank you very much, Prasanna.
Sure, sure. No, thank you for this. It's a fascinating topic, as you noted,
Yeah,
and we are seeing a lot, as you noted. There's so much happening, and I know that the ones that are the leaders are really the early adopters. And I've tell colleagues, if you really want to be on the edge, it's okay. It's going to be a bit messy, but you just dive in there, experiment, learn, and that's the way to be on the edge. And that's what's fascinating about this.
yeah, it is. It's been an interesting period, and it'll be fun to see how how much AI gets baked into things to where we don't have to worry about it anymore, and we're just moved on to whatever the next thing
Yeah.
is.
I think the world of digital marketing is going to be so different just because from what I've seen.
Yep.
And it's amazing how you can even change pricing. You can
Yep.
forecast what are new products you can sell, where you could sell, how you keep customers happy with all this AI technology out there.
Yep, it's an exciting time. How do people get in touch with you if they want to have a conversation about BI or just AI in general?
Sure. So our forum is GrowByData.com. They can, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Prasanna Dhungel. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn or reach out to me through our website. Happy to have a conversation and be helpful.
All right. Well, it was a great. The conversation helped me. I appreciate it, and hope you have a good day. Get outside and enjoy some sunshine. And,
Thank you so much.
Hang on for a second after I close this, and we'll check in one more time. Thanks, Prasanna. All right. Well, I like it. Dig in and let it be messy, and that's part of the fun. And make sure that you have good data, and be specific in your prompt writing. Those are all good messages. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.